Jungle Boogie by Bobby Grace. First off, I love when people say you gotta be making that shit up. Well, I ain't that creative. I wanted to tip you off right up front. Believe, don't believe, I don't give a shit. I live in a boat on a jungle river a few miles up from the Western Caribbean, a handful of degrees north of the equator. Pretty freaking cool if you ask me. Me and Tempest, my big-ass boat, stay here in a Kekchi, Aldea, in an area that is referred to as the Cayo. Not many gringos live here. I'd thought I'd left most of the trappings of my past life behind when I got here, specifically my identity as a musician. I didn't come here as a player, I came here as a writer. Both are of marginal value on La Frontera, the frontier, where men need the skills to build things and fix things and adapt things to their need and purpose, where a man's labor stands above a man's education, where his useful skills raise him in the esteem of his fellows. You can imagine how those first language-tortured conversations went between my future friends Carlos, his wife Elizabeth, and me. Carlos, what is your trabajo? Me, estoy escribo. Elizabeth to Carlos in Spanish. What did he say his work is? Carlos to Elizabeth in Spanish. I dunno, but I think he knows how to write. Let's face it, writer is not a profession held in much esteem in a world where few of a man's peers can read. Carlos in English. What your work before? Me, fue guitarro, which I now think means I was a guitar. I did go on to elaborate, yo juego un guitarro, or some such. I usually take a couple of linguistic passes from a couple of different directions, hoping one of the sorties will be successful. Aha. No emphasis on either syllable of the grunt. Ha. Emphasis on the second syllable. Me. See. So I became a musician again by default of language and lack of useful skills. I became a musician again, here, in the middle of the jungle. When you think about it, music is a more demonstrable skill at a party anyway. So I started hauling my guitar around the Aldea and to towns up and down the river, banging her like the circus monkey I was before I got here. Hey, meet me amigo Bobby. He don't have no real grown-up skills or anything, but he can bang the shit out of a guitar. I was back in the world of musicians. As it turns out, I'm still a sucker for a chica with a guitar too. No harm in it, I suppose. In fact, it'd be fine by me if it never changes. So one morning, I woke up here in the middle of the jungle with another itinerant musician staying on her way through. As one of my favorite gringa friends would say, of course you did. Anyhow, I was with some boys from the Cayo on a supply run to the closest town upriver, about 15 miles or so, an hour by launcher, give or take, depending on the weather and the size of the motor. And I met a kid who was passing through, alone, scruffy, broke, hungry, and trying hard to hang on to the rainbows and sunshine that blew out her ass to propel her this far. She was on her spirit walk. It was not treating her well, but she still toted a guitar and a fiddle. She was rashy, the skin on her face drawn tight, and as I learned later, her breasts hung dispiritedly above a prominent rib cage. She was dressed like Wilma Flintstone, in clothes she had fashioned for herself from scraps of cloth, rough cut but artfully tied, and a hat she must have borrowed from Tia Jemima, a 21st century descendant of Homo hippus, the hippie subset of our species. They're not yet extinct, no matter what the Greenpeace report says. The first thing I did was buy her a new hat. We met upriver at a place appropriately named The Shack. It's a rough-and-tumble favourite of the local expats and river rats, and a few of the braver transient cruisers. The proprietors are a sweet young Guatemalan lass and her Antonio Banderas handsome 30-something former cholo from LA. They are of good humour, and they mostly keep the bloodstains off the floor. It's better for business that way since they rent the upstairs dorm space mostly to 20-something backpackers passing through. La Gringa Musica wasn't very good at working the room, but she played with the spirit a musician calls up in themselves, both from and for the self. Her music was beautiful, rich, and pure, a sound that can only come from the young, only from a bruised and battered innocence staring at its own mortality. When we played together that day, probably no more than an hour or an hour and a half, we rubbed and tickled each other with a musical intimacy that I hadn't known in a long time. Well, if my mother, Lorraine, was alive, she'd have been wagging her finger at me and saying, "Bobby, stop bringing home strays." But incorrigible children grow into incorrigible adults, I suppose. The girl had talent and determination. Not much else, though. I fed the hat, bought her a hot meal, and offered her a place to stay for a couple of days in the Cayo on her way downriver. The normal stuff local musicians do for other musicians traveling through anywhere. She came. She said she would cook. She cooked a lot. The first few times I managed to get through her meals, successfully keeping the "what the fuck is this" look off my face. Mostly, though, I preferred to wait to eat until we got to Texas Mike's place to play a few sets and get a respectable taco con carne or chicken fried steak. There we'd sit under the tropical evening sky, making music with the vecinos and the gringos. Musical monkey love, one erotic note at a time with a kid from Cleveland. We finally said goodbye to each other a month and a day later. A long time to spend a weekend together. Funny how things work out. I don't know who healed whom more in the time we spent together. I fed her, she nourished me. I taught her some licks and how to prepare a show for the road. She taught me that skinny dipping is still a great way to spend a tropical evening. I showed her how to make some transition chords that she needed in her youthful, angst-filled music. She showed me that I never ever want to hire a hippie cook. We played music together all day some days, hugged and held and cried and laughed, just like those salad days making music with my best friend Nadine, stopping barely long enough to eat or watch the sunset. Strings and voices blending and teasing in a beautiful sensuality of sound. Hell of a thing, days like that. Her presence here was a gentle and reassuring cosmic kiss coming after my years of turmoil, trying to heal a spirit that I believed too broken to ever mend. A few years back, I lost my most favored lover. With the loss of her, I lost my music. That's the main reason I wound up here in the jungle in the first place. Yeah, I know, it's okay to have a pussy. It ain't okay to be one. The problem was, the most recent memories of our time together was the spirit-rending loss of it. That was such a big chunk of emotion. The biggest I'd ever wrestled with. It was too big to see around. It kept getting in my way. Every time I turned around, I was tripping over it. It was sticking on my shoe and clogging my spirit. Then, like a pinball shot off the 100-point bumper, the kid came zinging into my jungle. The gods are great. The gods are kind. I'm not really sure how it happened, but I know where it happened. In the music. Some women musicians seem to infuse their notes with pheromones, transcendent intimacy, foreplay in 4/4 time. I'd known it before. The reason the memory of it was so painful was I didn't believe it could ever happen again. I was proven wrong by a child woman who wore no panties and played a fiddle. We parted, both different people than we were when we met. I can't know why her gods put me in her path, but I do know why my gods put her in mine. She was looking fine when she left, too. The shadows nearly gone from her eyes. Her body once again restored to its 25-year-old curve and firmness. No real surprise there. The kid ate like a fucking horse. Whatever that shit was, she cooked. I wish I'd had something wiser or more profound to say to her when it was time for us to part company, but "you'll do all right, kid," was the best I was able to do. She smiled, said, "Yeah, probably. You probably will too."